Hey guys, what is up? It is me, Pagey, here once again with another video on Superman and Lois Season 4. And while we are a decent distance away from getting the start of Superman and Lois's fourth and final season on our TV screens, there's still no update on when that is happening specifically. We just know it's still a decent distance away and still a good amount of time away from a trailer as well. But we are getting little hints and teasers as to what is coming, our way and just going down in the upcoming final season. Now, the first thing I do want to mention is that this happened over the weekend that just went past, but Superman and Lois did win Best Superhero Series at the Saturn Awards, which is a, sci-fi, genre horror sort of convention. It's like one of the big ones for the big creatives. So like Kevin Feige and all them were there. Even Christopher Nolan was there as well. But yeah, they were in competition with like The Flash, Stargirl, I think maybe the Sandman in regards to DC stuff, and then there was stuff like Secret Invasion. I don't know if Loki was on there. She-Hulk. There was some other shows, but Superman and Lois won. It came out victorious. But anyway, previously we'd gone over some stuff that indicated that Tyler Hoechlin at the very least won't have that much of a presence in earlier episodes of this upcoming final season, just based off him being overseas while portions of episodes were still being filmed. I think he was they were in the back half of episode 1 and the first half of episode 2 and he just wasn't there. But we just know he's at least going to be appearing in flashbacks during episode 1, specifically flashbacks of him and Lois Lane working at the Daily Planet as reporters from what we can assume based on the photos. Now, I'd assume this is most likely on a story involving Lex Luthor in the past, which maybe connects to the present, but that's a wait and see. So while Tyler might be MIA for a lot of the time in the early episodes, at least in the present day, we do know that guest stars will be showing up in the form of the former series regulars from seasons gone by. Now, we already saw the Cushing family and General Sam Lane were filming, with it being revealed the day after, or maybe on the day it might have been that my last Superman and Lois video went up, that John Henry Irons and Natalie Irons were back in Vancouver to film as well. That looks to be for episode 3 for them, maybe, but it could also maybe be some end stuff in episode 2 as well. But speaking of episode 2, it looks like that is the final episode for General Lane. It looks like he is in episodes 1 and 2. I might be off for timing, but that's what it appears to be. But if you think I'm wrong or actually know that I'm wrong, let me know. And another interesting thing that came out in regards to the General Lane stuff, with it being said that the actor, Dylan Walsh, did not want to come back to the show just due to the disrespect on the side of the CW with how they handled the show after their takeover. But the showrunners for Superman Lois, Todd Helbing and Brent Fletcher, they reached out and explained their plans for General Lane and the limited screen time in this final season if he were to come back for that reduced filming period, and Dylan apparently loved what they had in store and agreed to come back because it was so good. Now, he wasn't contractually obliged to. None of the former guest stars or former series regulars and now guest stars were obliged to come back. It was their choice. They could have all raised the middle finger, or some of them could have raised the middle finger and just forgotten about it and walked away and just gone there to their new projects or whatever they are. And all the former series regulars are back for this final season, and some of the other actors, as I said, were in a similar line of thinking with Dylan Walsh about not coming back because of what the CW did, so that's probably a good sign. So it seems that the showrunners and writers must have put something special together for not just the final season as a whole, but for how each character is handled and finished off. So I'm excited by a considerably bigger margin than I was previously when it comes to those guest characters coming back due to this information that's come out. So I can't wait to see how they handle it and just how it maybe plays into the larger story for season 4 as well, potentially. Now, speaking of characters being finished off or being written off of the show, character deaths. Yep, apparently they're coming. Now, this is not clickbait, Jake Paul style or anything like that. This is coming from Lois Lane, ace reporter herself, that of course being Bitsy Tulloch, and I don't think Lois Lane clickbait. She's pretty respectable. Now, this was from an interview at the Saturn Awards where she was present to accept the award that we just talked about earlier for Best Superhero Series, and this interview was with Mamas Geeky. So shout out to them, and there is a clip for this, so enjoy watching and listening.
Anything at all you can tease about this upcoming final season?
There are deaths involved.
Multiple?
Yes, it's very epic. We're going out with a bang, they're actually very, very high stakes.
Okay, what was it like when you got those scripts and you read through them? What was your reaction?
I was crying. Yeah.
So yeah, You got to see her. You heard it from her mouth. It isn't like me reading and you have to trust that it came from her. You saw her say it. So let's just go over what she said again. So she was asked, is there anything you can tease about this upcoming final season? And she said, there are deaths involved. It's very epic. We're going out with a bang. In the end, there are actually very, very high stakes. With then, this being followed with, what was it like when you got the scripts for Superman and Lois season 4 and you read through them? What was your reaction? And she said, I was crying. Now, we had seen some other stuff from other cast members like Indy Navarrete, who plays Sarah, and Alex Garfin, who plays Jordan, in regards to, like reactions, I guess, from reading scripts and it being pretty exciting and surprising for what was coming. And based off what Bitsy is saying there, she is playing into that as well for the most part, which makes you really wonder what is going down, at least specifically in the early parts of season 4, and what could be left for the rest of the season as we lead up to the series finale, which of course will be episode 10 of season 4. But here is the big question. Deaths? As in multiple? Not just a death, but deaths. So multiple people dying, whether it's 2, whether it's 3, whether it's 4 million. So who the hell is dying? And are these deaths a part of what plays into the crying that Bitsy says went down when she started reading scripts of season 4? Is that more just like the emotional and, you're starting to see the end parts of the show pieced together? Maybe that's why it was emotional. Maybe all of it's emotional because it's the end of the show. And the first thing to bring up with these supposed deaths that are coming in season 4, based off what Bitsy is saying there, is that Bitsy says that they are going out with a bang and they're are not just high stakes, but very, very high stakes. So does that actually mean someone of note dies, whether it is one person or multiple people? Because if someone would go, oh, yeah, there are deaths, multiple deaths, I would just think, oh, yeah, it's someone we meet in the same episode, or a group of people that we meet in one episode, or maybe in the previous one, then they die in this episode. So let's say we meet them in episode 3, they all die in episode 4, but it's just people that we met and we really have no emotional connection to. But it could at least one or maybe more of these deaths be characters we have known for a while? Well, possibly. And there also could be a bit of a twist where, yeah, technically it's a death, but the character isn't dead, if that makes sense. So who are the top contenders? So I'm going to go over 4. I have 4 written down, and they're just ones that I could see playing into the story and dying. And also technically, I guess I feel like in previous seasons, one of these characters especially just felt like the show was building them up to die or sacrifice themselves. But there's one here which I think would be a very interesting one, and people might not see coming, but I don't know if it'd have that much of an emotional connection, because I'm just not sure how people feel about the character. But let me know your top choices in regards to who you think could die in this season, whether it's just your number 1, or maybe you list 3 or 4 options like I am. But yeah, let me know in the comment section down below, or just let me know what you think of my choices if you can't be bothered writing your own. Just do that if you want to. So the top one, I think it's the easiest one to choose. Superman. I mean, come on. The end of last season, Doomsday on the moon. It doesn't seem like he's in the present day filming. He's just showing up in flashbacks. I think that's the first death of the ranks. Or they think he's dead. They might not know he's dead, but they might think he's dead, and maybe it's just Superman on the moon. Maybe he's stuck on the dark side of the moon. That'd be a fairly interesting thing they could do, where the battle continues into the dark side of the moon. That's where he gets trapped, and there's no sun to rejuvenate him. That'd be a fairly interesting thing they could do. That was do with Superman there, and then maybe it's something else that rejuvenates him, or someone has to find him on the moon, something like that. I'm not too sure, but Superman seems like the clear one that would play into a death. And it's not lying, because he technically would be dead, I guess, to the people back on Earth. So pretty much everyone outside of Superman would think he's dead. So I think that's the top choice. I think that's the easy choice. But outside of him, who else could maybe play into the death options? Well, the next one is General Lane. And I don't think it's actually a ridiculously good choice. I would actually not like it if they do that. With deaths, when it comes to a character, and especially that being the reason the character's written off, I want it to have sort of what Bitsy was saying there, stakes attached to it, where it actually means something for the story going forward. And sure, General Lane's death could mean something big in regards to maybe it's Lex Luthor that does it. Now, whether that's intentional or not, I'm not too sure. And we also do not know specifically if he's filming in the present day either. They could carry it on where maybe he did die. Maybe he did die or is going to die from the events of last season. Maybe he doesn't come back to Smallville. Maybe the scenes we get with him are flashbacks as well, or maybe some scenes that happen in the events of the end of season 3 that we just didn't see. So it's maybe connecting some other pieces there. I'm not too sure if they're going to do that, because I don't know if they're going to execute him or something like that. But would have Lex Luthor's crew just let him go? I don't think they would have. I don't think they would have let him go. If anything, they would have been like, hey, this guy's been a bit of an issue in the past can we just get rid of him? Like, that would probably be what they would do. It'd be almost like incompetent if Lex Luthor let him go. But then again, it could be Lex Luthor's incompetent crew that lets him go. So that's the main reason I kept him in here, was just the fact of where we left him last season and the fact that, you know, he's just gone and they don't know where he is. So that could play into his death if they do decide to kill the character, sorry. And all of his appearances are gonna both of his appearances, might I say, look to be in episodes 1 and 2. So if you're going to kill someone off early and it sort of play into the story, you'd have him sort of die fairly early, but I don't know, we'll wait and see. My third option is Kyle Cushing. Now, this is the character I was saying that I just felt like they've been building up his death. I felt like in season 3, they were building up his character just to sacrifice himself for his family and die, and that just didn't happen. It just felt like that was what was happening with the character. I don't think he's legitimately going to die. I just put him in here because there was all that build-up I felt from the previous season and nothing happened. But you never know. I think the Cushings are probably going to have like a very mellow write-off, if that makes sense, outside of probably Sarah. I think Sarah's the only one that might have a bit more of an emotional arc, and that's just because of the connection with Jordan. But yeah, I don't see the Cushings having this massive dramatic stuff, at least compared to what we saw last season. So I just put Kyle there for, I guess, continuation's sake from the previous seasons, but I don't know if it's that much of a chance, but you never know. Maybe they finally pay off what I felt was built up to a sacrificial death or something. And here's the final one, which most people might not have, you know, thought of, but I just thought, like, if they go into something with like a journalistic angle, especially with Lois Lane, and Lois Lane's gonna have to work with someone because Clark's missing or Superman's missing, what if Chrissy were to die? Chrissy Beppo. Now, we don't know specifically how many episodes she's going to be in. I think she's back filming now. I think she might be back for episode 2 or episode 3. I could see maybe her dying. And the main reason for this is like, and we still don't know specifically in regards to the logistical side of where the Kents go. Like, are they in Smallville the entire season? That sort of makes it hard to guess what they're going to do with the former series regulars coming back as guest actors. But Chrissy's one where if like Lois is going to keep being a journalist and she goes to the Gazette, Chrissy's going to be there. So I do wonder if maybe she's someone that dies, and that could play into the story for the season, with especially like Lois going up against Lex. Like, maybe Chrissy finds out something quickly and is going to pass it on to Lois, and Lex or someone takes her out so she can't pass on that information. And then maybe that information is something that Lois learns later in the season. Like, she finds a file or something like that, and then she finds out that's why Chrissy died, because she learned that information. That would be an interesting way to do it. But I think with any of the deaths, if they are people we know, especially if they were former series regulars coming back as guests for this season, the death has to matter. That's why, like, the General Lane one feels like it might not matter too much to the story, neither with the Kyle one. And the Chrissy one is probably the only one that sort of matters, depending on how they would do it. But then again, the deaths could easily be people that have like minor significance in the comics that maybe we meet this season. And then again, as I said, like, Superman plays into it. I think Superman seems to be like confirmed as one of the deaths, though he's not dead. He's just going to be dead and then missing for a bit. But I don't know. You might have to let me know your opinions in the comment section down below. But yeah, guys, thanks for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, it'd be awesome if you could drop a like and show your support. As I said, let me know your opinions in the comment section down below, whether it's on my choices or some other choices you want to put there. Let me know. And of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe, and I will catch you guys later. Goodbye.